love story.
Hello, dear friends, and welcome to the Love Talk Show where you can learn the intelligent love. Here we are once again, and as always, we have here a blessed couples. As always, as every Wednesday, we have here a couple to share their love story with us. We have here Michael and Cherice, right? From Peckham.
Correct, yeah.
From
Peckham.
Yes. How are you doing, guys?
Oh, good, thank
Good.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming. Are you ready to share the love story?
you. Yes.
we are.
Yes. You were telling me that you've been married for 1 year and a couple of months, right?
Correct.
And how long you dated before?
2 years.
2
Yeah.
years.
2 years.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. 2 years. 2 fun years.
2 funny years.
Yeah, long
Okay.
distance, but
Two
fun.
two expensive years.
Okay.
A lot of
So-
traveling.
oh, really?
yeah.
Good. Let's see here first the flash questions, because the flash questions, you don't need to explain. Just, yes or no, or maybe a little, understanding about it. Let's go. Who fell in love first? Is there an
I
agreement
did.
about it?
I did. That's how she looked at me.
Yeah, you did it.
I did. I think. I did.
Good start. Who's more jealous? Hmm?
Not me.
No.
I am more jealous.
Okay. Let's move on. Who is more romantic?
I think Cherice is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Who takes longer getting ready to leave the
100%
house?
Cherice.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Who drives better?
Cherice does.
Really?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Good. Humbleness. Yes. Who gets stressed easier?
Michael.
Me. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, are you calm now, right, Michael? I hope so. Who's more forgetful?
Oh, 100% me. No debate.
Okay, so if I ask you dates and these
Don't
things.
forget it.
Okay, good to know. Who's more clumsy?
Cherice.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
feel like you are.
No, okay, equally, maybe.
Okay.
equally.
But I
Yeah.
think you are.
Okay.
Own it.
So how is the plates and cups?
Oh, yeah, she's more clumsy.
Oh, I feel
Okay.
like you stub your toe a lot.
Okay, so do you.
Okay. And who expenses more?
Who
Michael.
expenses?
Yeah.
Yeah.
you're-
Oh, who spends more money?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's me.
Yeah. And who is more organized? The last one.
It's a good one.
Both.
Both organized.
Both
But in
of
our
you.
own ways, yeah.
In different ways.
Yeah.
That's okay, because when you speak about organization, you can be organized with certain things and you with
Mhm.
other things, right?
Mhm.
For example, at home, me,
Mhm.
Karina is much more organized with the house, but I'm more organized with my stuff, my personal computer, technology. I'm organized. If you open my computer, you see everything organized in folders. If you open Karina's computer, you see that her desktop looks like, something exploded in it. Every documents and pictures, they are there. But she's getting better. Okay, guys, let's get started. So you've been married for 1 year and a couple of months, but Michael told me with a certain air of regret that 2 years of expensive. Expensive. How was that?
Well, I wouldn't say to regret, but because we're here today, right?
Yeah,
We're
no,
married.
of course.
But it was expensive because Cherice is not from London.
Okay.
I'm
Where
from
you from?
London.
Well, I am from London. No, okay. I'm not from London. Okay.
Okay. That's
You
really-
originate.
no,
You
okay.
originate in London.
Yeah.
But you
I
moved.
was living in Nottingham. I moved
Okay.
There. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, nothing.
Yeah.
Just there. Yeah. Just up there.
Yeah, I wish. 3 hours away, so train ticket journey was just
Wow.
really expensive, and then obviously I had to find the places because when I usually went up there, I usually stayed up there for like 2 days, 3 days, and I would have to like rent a room or rent an Airbnb, and that was just all cost. So it wasn't. If you was in London, it was just a bus down the road
Yes,
or a
yes.
train journey away.
Yeah.
But this one was full blown.
But you know what, Cherice? That was already a proof of love, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Very intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
better be. I'm kidding.
So you didn't know, but you're already getting some points doing that.
Well, I hope
Yeah.
so. Was I?
Yeah. Of course. Look where you are now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. But who see you guys here, laughing together, in this good connection, this good vibe, perhaps have no idea where you came from. Let's start with you, Michael. For example, who see you now with this good connection with your wife, can imagine that, or could you imagine from, I don't know how long before, when you were, living a life away from the author of love, that you could be in a stable relationship, good, being happy with this kind of connection?
I would say I was wishing for it, but whether I imagined it, that's another thing.
Yeah.
Two different things. So I didn't really growing up have a picture of what a happy marriage was, because my parents didn't want in a happy marriage. So I wished
What was your idea of getting married?
my idea of getting married was very much, being with someone that you really, really care about and providing for that person and making that person happy, and, just living a really peaceful life with them, having children, being prosperous, etc., etc. That was what I wished for, right? But as put to your question, could I imagine myself all of this? No, I don't think so. Even thinking back. I one thing is, I remember when I was at university, I always told my friends or my flatmates that I wanted to get married really young, like 21, because I was so desperate to prove to myself. Yeah, I was so desperate to prove to myself that it's possible being happily married, that I wanted to get married young so that I could have such a blessed marriage and prove that to myself, because I just never had, none of my family members, no parents, no aunties and uncles, like really had a successful marriage. Like a lot of my aunties were single moms. So yeah,
you had the desire to be in a happy marriage, but what were you doing to reach this target?
Absolutely nothing. Absolutely.
That's a
nothing.
Great contradiction, right?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Wanted to be in a happy marriage, was doing nothing to be in a happy marriage. I was thinking, if that's doing anything, I thought about it. But of course, I didn't have the resources available to me. It's not even like I was watching YouTube videos and learning from other people. I wasn't doing any of that. I was just winging it, right? I was just hoping I would be in a happy marriage, and just kind of go from there. But there was no.
But you know what is curious about it, because you were in a university, and what you were doing in university, preparing yourself for your professional life. Correct. Right?
Yeah.
So can you see that's the greatest contradiction? Many people outside. So they wish to make money. So for that, okay, let me stop 5 years of my life, dive head in books, study, get a diploma, because I want to have a good job. I want to have a good career. But when they think about a marriage, that's the idea. I have to do nothing. That will be automatic. Life will teach me. And what life was teaching you by the time about marriage? Or about relationships?
Just terrible lessons. Yeah. Terrible lessons. Marriage was a environment where you argue a lot, you fight a lot. An environment where you get served food on the tray by your wife, and then she has to go and wash the dishes, and
those American series, right?
I mean, so I the honest truth process, I never really had any good lessons or learning anything from university about marriage. And I lived a life of just winging it. I just wanted to just be with someone and figure it out.
The greatest contradiction ever about love life. People wishing to have a good love life, but what are they doing about it? Nothing.
Correct.
Nothing. But Cherice, and what about you? Where you came from? Would you imagine yourself in live radio here, speaking about your successful love life, how blessed you are? Would you imagine that, a couple of years ago?
No. Actually, yes and no, because growing up...
Quite the same, right? Wishing but doing nothing.
Well, what I thought I was doing, I felt like it was good enough. Like, I was just doing little prayers here and there. I felt like I was preparing myself by being optimistic, or like having a good mindset. The opportunity will come. But yeah, when you, in hindsight, no, I wasn't really doing much at all. And I said yes and no because no, I didn't really believe in myself being chosen or having that opportunity. But yes, because I saw my parents get married and growing up with them, I felt like it was definitely possible, but just how and why me? Sometimes that was a lot of self-confidence issues that I had to like overcome. And really, I was kind of quite gullible and like delusional. Really, what's the word? I don't really know the word, but like Disney was everything to me, and so all Disney princesses, they just had the opportunity come to them, like the Prince Charming came to them. So I just felt like it's just gonna happen.
Yeah,
and just
my prince will come.
Yeah, exactly. So that was what I was doing years ago, and no.
And following this strategy, have you found your prince by following this strategy, by this mindset? But have you found a frog? Because that's the problem, when you do nothing, what kind of result can I expect if I'm doing nothing about a specific area of my life? And in love life is quite the same, Michael. And by doing nothing in regards to your love life, but wishing to have a good love life, what was the result of this combination? Doing nothing but aiming to have a good life.
A lot of trial and error. A lot of trial and error. Trial and error with not a lot of females, but females. Especially growing up, as I said, I was telling you earlier how I lost my virginity quite early. So that was kind of where the trial and error started. Oh, get with you. We date for a few months, a year. At this point, I was in the church, by the way.
Oh, you were already in church?
I was already in church.
Oh,
yeah. I was already, I came to church when I was 15. I was kind of transitioning to college. Started dating this girl in college, and that was kind of my beginning of my trial and error. And that's when I started to get an understanding of what I want and what I don't want. Now, of course, I was in a church, so I was learning principles of someone that's of God, etc. And more of what I was learning in church, I just wasn't seeing in this person. So that's where trial and error started. Okay, that's not.
So was she also in the church?
She was.
Okay.
Well, the person? Oh,
no. Yeah.
Again, another trial and error, right? Oh, can I date someone that's from another church? So she was another church. She was actually a pastor's daughter. And from another denomination, another church. I know, it just gets messy from then on, right? And then that's when we fell, into, we were kind of sleeping together, and at the end of the day, I just realized that, hey, this God's not happy about this relationship. So that was my first taste of trial and error. And then when I went to you,
but how was this specific relationship?
It was interesting. It was interesting because I would say that I was so young back then. I didn't know what red flags from green flags. I didn't know good from. So I was winging it. I was like, oh, okay, like she has this issue, but it's fine. Work it out. Oh, we're not married, but we're sleeping together. Oh, big deal. It happens. Like, do you get what I mean? Like, just this little red. Oh, but she's meant to be a pastor's daughter, but she's like very promiscuous. That should be an issue, but that was an issue. Like, do you get what I mean, Pastor? So those are the kind of, things that were kind of, that were happening. It was just not good. It was not good at all. So, and then, transitioning to university, again, more trial and error with different females, and then same story. Oh, this was my line. I realized that, I just feel like our faith is going on two different journeys, and I just feel like, I feel like I'm letting God down, and therefore I have to end this relationship. That is how I ended pretty much all my relationships, because I just felt convicted by my conscience that this wasn't right.
So you already knew from the beginning that you were doing things wrong.
Yeah. But I was just in for it. I'm just in for the ride.
and the question is why? Why?
Then we're digging into loads of maybe insecurities I had. Not wanting to be. I spoke to you a little about my childhood. Having my parents around, wanting attention. I lacked attention as a kid. I didn't have attention. So having someone to give me attention was maybe something subconsciously I felt like I needed. Having someone be there when I, wanted them. And like, I will preface this. I didn't necessarily want to sleep with them. That wasn't the goal. The goal, actually, what's really funny is the goal was to marry all of them.
Really?
That's a really funny thing,
Wow.
right? The goal was I'll be, and I was like, I'm going to be with this person I'm going to marry.
So you're just, closing your eyes and let's see where
Let's
we're gonna
see
get
where
it.
this goes, and then it never ends the way I think it's going to end.
Of course not.
Because the person's not of God, and I don't have peace in the relationship, and then I end up leaving. So.
So this is interesting because the root of this behavior actually was this need of yours to have some attention, to have someone by your side.
Yeah.
So you're not living this kind of life, without a reason. That was the reason.
That was my reason, yeah. But I never, because I was so young, I didn't understand
Yes,
it. Didn't
yes.
understand it until I grew older. Now reflecting back on it, it was just because I wanted someone by my side.
And tell me please, when the penny dropped?
When the penny dropped was the year 2017.
Mm-hmm.
That was when I had decided to leave a current relationship I was in. We weren't even in an official relationship again. We were just kind of just winging it and sleeping together, whatever. But the penny dropped because I was like, everything I'd learned, I was learning in church. I was like, this is going to be, if I want to do this for another 5 years, this is going to be really, really exhausting. I don't have time for it. I really want to get married. So if I want to get really married, I got to figure this out properly. I got to do things God's way.
At least the good thing it was you wanted to get married.
Yes.
They were doing everything
Yeah,
wrong.
I didn't want to date someone,
Yeah.
have a fling with them and then say to them the famous line, "Oh, we're just on two different directions faith-wise, so I think it's best for us." Like, I genuinely wanted to find someone I could settle down with because I had the capacity, like I had the heart to look after someone, to love someone. But when you are on a journey of building a relationship with God, anything that doesn't synergize with that, it really bothers your conscience. It just really bothers your conscience, and he's just like, no, I can't do it. So,
And so when you realize that the problem was, okay, I'm behaving like that, I'm doing these things because there is something wrong within. I feel this need, to be with someone. What did you do from this point when you understood that?
I had to seek God.
So you stopped seeking women, you stopped seeking a wife to find.
Just focused on myself. And I remember this was the phase where I came to LT faithfully for a long period of time, like nearly a year, right? Just to work on myself, to understand what I really wanted.
But by going there in your branch, for example, every Sunday, Wednesdays, I don't know, what the days you used to go. For sure, you also received spiritual advice
of course.
and help. What is the difference between, for example, Sunday morning, Wednesday, were crucial to the love therapy?
It's more, the love therapy is structured to your sentimental, kind of your the way you think about your sentimental life, right? So what you get on a Wednesday and a Sunday is more to kind of do with the spirituals, your soul, making sure that you're saved, you have the Holy Spirit. But the love therapy covers that, right?
Yeah.
Especially because I've been in the meetings towards the end. It's really important.
Yeah.
But I remember I used to go to the meetings when Pastor Luke was here, and we used to kind of use this concept of building a house. You start with the roof, and then you remember some of these messages. So that's the difference, where we take different concepts, right, and try to break it down and make it really, really practical, really practical for the person to go away, whether they're single, engaged, married, to take certain actions, right?
So this is really, really important because you understood that you had to work on yourself first.
Yes, I had to work on my house. My house was there was gas leaks and
Yes.
you know, water leaking.
It was
there
a disaster,
there was
right?
flooding.
Yeah.
You know, there was a hole through the roof, and
Yeah.
you know, there was insects everywhere. It was just a mess.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of remove everything and start
And
again.
how was your house, Cherice?
Oh. It's pretty much the same. I wish it was different, but yeah. As I said before, I was very gullible, very delusional, very like too quick, too soon. So I came to the church and I felt like I was moving and growing, and because I moved and grown and took things on board really quickly, and I was serious, and I felt that I could be in a committed relationship because, you know, everything was moving quickly. I didn't like dilly dally. Like, I didn't think that God wasn't for me. I took things really quickly, as I said, and so I felt like, yeah, I'm ready for a relationship, and I entered into a relationship and thought I was strong, but really wasn't strong, and yeah, from things went downhill because I started to really compromise my faith. Then the guy that I was with became like my God, really started to worship him, and he was worshiping me, like literally the ground that we worked on, really putting on him on a pedestal. He put me on a pedestal, and so slowly and slowly, like, it was him over God, and obviously that is just a recipe for disaster. So
And we are talking about a girl that grew up with Christian principles.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Exactly. Got to a point where we were fully like living as husband and wife, but obviously we weren't married, and I felt like it was good. I felt like this was as good as I'm gonna get. I didn't really believe in myself or doing things the right way anymore, because I just felt like I'd gone so far from the original plan, or where I felt like we were gonna be headed, and I just really felt like, well, I'm gonna marry him anyways, so you know, we can sleep together, we can, like, we're good together. So I mean, like, obviously, as I said, very delusional and very naive, and very
Sorry,
wrong.
but when you say delusional, do you think that you were trying to force a situation, like you had to, you know, okay, I have to believe that this is what we have to do. I have to believe that I'm happy. Or you really thought that you were happy by
No, I
doing it?
really thought I was happy, and I really felt like God could bless the mess that I was in.
Wow.
And I really felt like, as I said, we're going to get married. This is the man that I'm going to marry. We're going to live happily ever after, the Disney films.
Yes.
And it's good. We're good. And I just, the only bad thing about the relationship is the sex. Like, if we were married, it wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong.
You know, this is something that people, perhaps they're watching us now, they might not understand. Think, okay, what is the problem, you know, having sex before marriage? The problem is that if you want the blessing of the author of love, you have to follow his steps. And when he established that, he established for a reason, for you to prevent, you know, the famous broken heart. Because look at that, you have here people that they were trying, but just hitting the wall. And imagine how good would be if you were here saying, no, you know, our first experience was with each other, you know, that would be different. I'm not saying that it's a disaster, because when we are indeed with God, you know, he makes things new. But it could prevent all this pain, all these disappointments and frustration. Right?
It's hard. Pastor, I'll be really honest with you. It's hard because there's just not good examples out there. There's no one, you know, from my community, with the guys I grew up with. It's hard. Where's the example to follow? Where's the Christian guy that, you know, is the same age or around the same age as me, that's done it God's way? And that is why there's a lot of failed relationships out there, and a lot of relationships that are not following, you know, the steps of the author of love, because there's just no example. So for the world out there, it's just, there's no hope. All hope is lost. So
that's why the law therapy is so necessary.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why. So Cherice, let's continue here. How did you realize that the prince was not a prince, and you were not a princess as well, right?
So it got to a point where we even got engaged, and I knew that I couldn't continue. I really felt bad. I felt really convicted. I felt the penny started to drop. The veil, the blurry, I don't know, the blindness was starting to go away from my eyes, and I started to really understand it. But look where you came from. You started off so well. It could have been a blessing, but you guys have turned it into a curse because you didn't keep God as the center. You didn't keep God as the foundation. So are you gonna just continue going down the wrong path, and then who knows like what's gonna happen, like especially for your soul, like where are you going, like what's gonna happen? So I just really had to. It was very hard. It wasn't easy, but I did have to be real now. It couldn't be a fairy tale. It wasn't going to be a fairy tale ending. It couldn't be just being delusional until death. It had to be, I had to just wake up and realize that, no, if you, like God still wants me as well. That's another thing I didn't, I felt like, because I'd gone so wrong and so far off the path, that God wouldn't want me anymore, or how could he restore anything? How could things turn around? But I had to really trust God. So I let go of the relationship. And
you made this decision.
Yeah, I made the decision, and
I'm sorry, but I know this, may sound quick. I made this decision. I broke up, but I'm pretty sure that was not simple as that.
No, as I said, I was wanting to marry him, and I didn't see past that relationship. I couldn't see a future
without the guy.
Yeah, not at all. Especially not married, or if I wasn't going to be with him, then I wasn't going to be with anybody. And so it was very difficult, especially back then. I felt like, as I said, there was nothing wrong with the relationship, so why would I give it up? But I knew that God is greater, and I started to see that there were examples like in church where people had done things right and they are living a blessed marriage, and I started to believe that I could have that for myself, and that deep down at the time I still kind of believed that he would change and come to God, and so that made it a bit easier, because I felt like God was going to change him if I sacrificed my Isaac. I felt like he was going to stop me halfway, and then he was going to come with me, and I still was a little bit delusional, but I at least I made that decision, and then God could actually work on me. Then God could actually help me to rebuild my altar and fix all the issues that was inside that made me not trust him and made me come away from the right direction that I was going in the beginning.
So you can see that the common point of your story here, both of you, is that you decided to start working yourself. And can you see, the first step for you starting working yourself is to start investing in your relationship with God, because when you were in that relationship and you also live in that kind of life, that mess, you were not having a proper relationship with the author of love. And that's the point. How can I, have the blessing of the author of love in my life if I don't have a relationship with him? If I'm excluding him from my life? If I just want, I want your blessings, so please bless my mess, bless my poor choices. It's not like that. So I have first to fix myself. How long was this process? And of course, I'm not asking about time frame, but what was the cost? How was, this process for you, rebuilding yourself, understanding that relationship wasn't for you? How was this? I'm asking that, Cherice, because there are girls watching us now that they are in a very similar situation like you were. They have a guy, and they're subjecting themselves to things that only God knows, because they believe, no, he's the one. If it's not him, I'm lost. He's the one. So you who had this mentality, how was that for you?
So I had known that I needed to break up with him, and I knew that he wasn't gonna come to the church and join me. So
indeed he didn't.
No, he didn't. It's just really sad at the time. But that was about 4 months of back and forth deciding, and then I finally decided, but then I still kind of like kept in contact with him. I didn't like go no contact, but then that was about another 6 months. So I feel like in total about a year to really like
Cut
fully
off.
decide like I'm not going back to you. You obviously made your choice, and I'm making my decision. I'm gonna stick to it. So yeah, it was about, I'd say about a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what was the profit when you finally let go? Because you were there in that, lukewarm situation for 1 year, and I don't think that you could evolve spiritually by being in that state, right? When you made that hard decision to, once and for all, to cut this relationship off and to invest in your relationship with God, what happened to you from that point on?
Well, things started to go a little bit worse, and I was a bit scared. Like, I was like, what did I just do? Like, I need to go back, but I couldn't, because not that I didn't believe that he could take me back, but like I didn't want to not believe in God. Like, God couldn't fail. God doesn't fail, so it couldn't have been God. Like, I really believed it was other forces trying to stop me or make me go back.
You were fighting against your heart.
Exactly. So anything that came up was gonna look like, oh, go back. Look, you made a bad decision. But after I overcame those challenges, I did start to see my life really drastically change after I overcame the worst of it, and really stronger in my faith, really closer to God, really starting to see the error of my ways and why I felt like I was strong but I wasn't, and really it was just that I just started to have a true sense of what it really means to be a woman of God, and learning how to be a proper wife, not just make believe and not just the way that I was playing house, and just my whole mindset changed, and my belief system changed into the fact that I could possibly get married and find love and do things right the way that God wanted me to do it all along, and so confidence built, really my other areas of my life started to really prosper. So it was definitely
and by this time where you started attending the law therapy.
Oh yeah.
And how did the law therapy help you to overcome these feelings, to finally beat this deceitful heart ahead? How was that?
Oh, the love therapy actually started to become my favorite service of the church. It was like it was just for me, because in Nottingham it was it was on the screen.
Oh, sure, you were in Nottingham, yeah.
And sometimes it was just me there, so it was just me and the screen.
In the screen, yeah.
And so it's like Pastor was holding us.
Oh no, this is really good, because you have many people watching us from outside London, and they think like that. They feel like that sometimes. Oh, but I'm here, in Glasgow watching the law therapy. I'm here in Nottingham. I'm here in I don't know where. In Sheffield, in just me and maybe grandma here and another guy that is old guy here. Come on, where will I find love? But I believe even there alone, you were not thinking about finding someone, right?
No, because there was nobody there, nobody to distract me or anything, and so I really took on board all the messages and I applied it to my relationship with God. And so that even strengthened my spiritual life, and I took notes and everything so that I could apply that into my future relationship, and it really helped me like with the deep inner thoughts and roots and challenges that I thought I had overcome but I didn't, and that was really crucial, because obviously that was the reason why I failed the first time, because I felt like I was doing a lot better than I actually was.
That's the problem, feeling like you were not. But just tell me now, Michael, how did you find this lady watching the law therapy by herself alone there in Nottingham? How did it happen?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite stories. So we had a special singles hour / consecration of the love team.
Okay.
In 2018.
Yeah.
2018. And it was really nice. But anyway, how I came across her, I met her, but I didn't. When you meet someone, it's when you talk to them. But I didn't meet her that day, but I did see her.
Okay.
So I saw her. It was at the end of the service, and all the love team had to come and take a picture.
Yeah.
Sorry, all the love team had to come and take a picture, and I was like, she had to catch a train, and then I was taking forever. So like, she was clearly not happy with me.
Okay.
So, but then I was just like, why is this girl staring at me? So I always make a joke, and when we always talk about how we meet, I always tell people, she was just like staring at me like in awe, but she always disagrees.
Okay.
So I was just waiting for you. Anyway, that's where we initially kind of crossed paths. But when we actually officially met was through a mutual friend. You know, like I think a couple of days later after that, I think that same weekend, I came across like her on Telegram or something, or on Instagram through a mutual friend, and I asked to be introduced, kind of indirectly. But before I finally spoke to her, I'd like done we call it a DBS check. I'd done my DBS check. Yeah. I spoke to her pastor, I spoke to my pastors.
I can guarantee our listeners that this is something you learned a lot from.
Yeah, call the pastor, call everyone, let everyone know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you know, everything I heard was pretty cool. So that's when, and I still didn't talk to her, so I was kind of still like speaking to her through this mutual friend about my intentions, and at the time I think
and these are good signs because your heart was not leading you to that.
Yeah, I was definitely trying to do it the proper way, because that's what it wouldn't make sense to be going to law therapy for a year and not when the moment where it matters you don't apply anything that you've learned. That makes no sense. That's so counterproductive. Yes. Anyway, so I managed to not mess that whole process up. Right. And she was in New York at the time. And actually, I think this is interesting because you're in New York. You weren't planning to come back, right? You were planning to just live your life there. But, you know, God kind of brought us together at a time where she felt like, you know, this is your husband. And she came back to England. And
What were you doing there in New York? But we have some listeners from New York. But what were you doing there?
I wanted to start a new life. I wanted to, because before that, I felt like before that I spoke to somebody for like 6 months, and that it didn't work out. So I just felt like this is the second person I've spoken to in the church. I must be the problem here. So I need to really go on a solo journey and really find out like what is going on, and really make sure that God is the center of everything out.
Sorry, so when you start talking, she was already there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She was already there.
So I went there, and I felt like that was where God was taking me, because, you know, I started to get a job opportunity as well, and I was just gonna make things happen by faith, because that's all I had, and that's why I wanted to go to New York.
Yeah. And then God, you know, slapped you and told you to come back.
Go back to England.
Because I'm not coming to New York. But yeah, that's essentially how we met.
Okay, and after that's why it was so expensive, this dating, because you go back to Nottingham, right?
Yeah, exactly. So well,
yeah,
that's worth it.
And how was the dating time? Was different from the befores, right?
Yeah, 100%. I would describe the dating time as fun. When I remember it was fun. It was fun because I just enjoyed actually, you know, when you actually finally meet a woman of God, everything tastes different. Everything feels different. You have more peace, right? You don't feel like, oh damn, like, if I die right now, I'm not saying, like, you feel good. If you feel confident in what you're doing because you're doing it in the right way. And that's why I say it was fun, because my other times I was dating, it was not fun. It was just very stressful spiritually, because it's like, oh my God, I'm not pleasing God. But then I'm just not trying to break this person's heart. And then you just stay in a toxic relationship. It's toxic. anyway, I describe it as fun because we were doing our best to do it the right way, right? And I thought that was fairly successful. And I just genuinely found someone that I could really, because there was criteria, right? Like getting with me was not easy. Like I had my standard.
Okay.
So like no one could kind of just walk up to me and be like, oh hey, like, you know, I had my standard, and I had certain things that she had to buy into. For example, I think one of the main reasons we came together was we both wanted to build a church. And that was my vision. I didn't tell her, but that was also her vision when we met.
Wow.
So I was like, this is amazing, like very, very rare.
Yeah.
So we had kind of the same vision in terms of the work of God. You know, everything aligned. So it was really easy decision for me to try this out and to see where it goes. There were, like, believe me, our dating process was not easy. Like, it was very challenging. We had loads of challenges.
Inexpensive.
It was that too. That too. Many challenges. We made mistakes, but it worked out. So I think it was fun. How would you describe it?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I feel like the same. It was fun. It was a lot different to all my other experiences. And so I felt more confident. I felt like I went in not blind. I didn't go in. I was older, and I knew that I could trust God with this. And if anything wasn't going to go right, God's got me. If it goes well, God's got me. So I don't need to feel like, oh, I have to have control of everything, or I have to do this my way.
Yeah.
I was really at peace to do it God's way. And so I feel like because of that, and being led by the Holy Spirit in terms of like what kind of questions to ask, or what kind of things that even to go to counsel, to go for counsel in pastors and pastors' wives, or like I didn't feel like I was doing anything wrong, so I didn't feel like I needed to hide anything. I could go and openly ask for help if I needed to, and that was different to anything I had experienced before. And so for me it was different, but it was really nice. It was very I don't know what the word is.
I don't even mean to cut you off, but when you do things God's way, it's nice.
Yeah.
That's
And you have peace.
yeah.
You have peace,
It's
tranquility.
beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yes.
You
because-
can't compare it to anything.
Exactly. So my question is, there are people thinking, okay, but it's necessary for you to have, an experience and all this blah, blah, blah. But do you really believe that you really needed to, to go through everything you went through to be happy? Or do you believe that, okay, if you had already applied everything that you did in this relationship before, don't you think that you could avoid it?
Yeah. But I mean, past a life.
We can change what happened, right?
Yeah, I
we
guess.
can change.
Yeah.
It's not okay, let's try go back in past and change. No, we can't do that.
Yeah.
You're not living in Disneyland, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, there people think, but it's good, it was good for you to experience this and that. Was it really good?
No, because
was really necessary.
For me, anyways, I suffered a lot, and I wouldn't even wish that on my worst enemy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go and advise people, make sure you have your backstory. No.
Yeah, it was very stressful for me. I just remember it being very stressful, Pastor, because I was in the church, but doing stuff with females. The pastor would find out. It would be like a big humiliating situation, and it was really stressful. I remember I was even kicked out of the youth group at one point. I was just it's not necessary.
Yes.
It's absolutely not necessary.
And
So
now you have peace, now you become a good example to be followed, a good influence.
Yeah.
That guy you were looking for before, who to follow, now you became this guy. You became, an example that in your community, that in your neighborhood, someone, okay, this guy made lots of mistakes, but now he's that's a serious man, he's a husband. He's a man indeed. He's not just a male living with a female. They are a couple. They are serious about what they are doing.
absolutely.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Just before we finish, so tell me about the proposal. There was a proposal.
There was a proposal.
Quickly,
was a
because
proposal.
we had just have a few minutes.
Okay. Proposal she didn't know anything about.
Okay.
I had made up.
But Cherice, were you already expecting something by this point, right?
Yeah, I was
Yeah. Oh
expecting.
yeah.
2 years.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was expecting.
I mean, we were before I proposed. Like we were looking at wedding venues.
Okay. So yeah.
Do you get what I mean? But even though she knew it was coming, she didn't know when.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the way I even like made it, it was almost like I made like this phony award ceremony
Okay.
for her that her friend invited her to, and she had to wear a certain dress and all that kind of stuff. So I really like planned everything out. It was beautiful. It was like, you know, we had our closest friends and family there at a restaurant, and that's when I proposed. But it was really fun planning it though, because I knew from then on there's nothing else I'm planning, because she planned the whole wedding. So I had to own that. That was my thing.
Good. Good. So 1 year and a couple of months together,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
You said it's challenging. Indeed, it's challenging
is.
because it's the sum of two different people, two different backgrounds coming together, and now you have to combine everything to form indeed a family. But though challenging, do you believe that really worth to be together, married, with the blessing of the author of love?
Oh, 100%.
Oh my God. I mean, I tell my wife this all the time. I say my wife has dramatically improved my life, like dramatically. We even talked about it the other day, where if I look up Michael single, Michael married, it's much better.
Yeah.
As a human being, as a professional,
And spiritually.
and most importantly spiritually, right? So 100%.
And what about you? What is different now about you after marriage?
Oh wow, everything, everything. it's kind of indescribable at the moment, because if you like hear I know I went into semi-detail about everything that I went through, but really thinking about it and looking back and where I am now, it's a completely different little girl that I was, naive, gullible. None of that's not me anymore. Like, I'm of faith. I'm not emotional like that and delusional like that. No, everything is level-headed, rational, and as peace. No suffering. Like, it's amazing.
She's a good wife. So.
Yeah. So can you see, though challenging, it's amazing because you can see the benefits, the profit of doing things right and investing properly in your relationship.
That's right.
Guys, thank you very much for coming.
Thanks for
I
having
know
us.
we had a lot to speak, but the time is not allowing us to go any further.
Always.
Right. Always. So you have a wonderful night. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
The Love Talk Show on Liberty Radio.